All right, Fresh. Let's go to our second game of the week. It is Pac-12 After Dark. It's been a while since we've talked about Pac-12 After Dark. Love it. Love these games, guys. This may be the one of the best Pac-12 After Dark games we've seen in a long, long time. Oregon State 6-1 on the year, 3-1 in the Pac-12, and they are only sitting with a very, very, very close loss to Washington State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the season. They're
Yep.
traveling to Arizona. Arizona, like the surprise team of the Pac-12. They're 4-3 on the year. They've kind of struggled, but you take a look. Double overtime loss in a game they probably should have beat USC in, and then going toe to toe all game long with Washington. The Wildcats are probably one of the best stories in the Pac-12 right now, and so is Oregon State. So I love this game here, Fresh, but I'll turn it over to you. I'm not sure if Delores playing in this game or not as well. So another quarterback injury we got to monitor.
There's a lot of injuries right now. Quarterback. Actually, we have a bunch of them we're going to be talking about tonight, the quarterback injuries. But Arizona was my surprise team during our conference preview. So if you don't believe me, go pull up all the YouTube videos, go back to August and see our FBS Group of Five or Power Five, excuse me, previews. It'll be right there stated. I'm actually I'm happy they came through and they're actually playing at a good rate. Um, you mentioned the loss to USC, but they have three losses to Mississippi State, Washington, and USC by combined 17 points. All were single-digit losses. Two of those games went to overtime. This squad has, a couple of years ago, they were maybe one win if they're lucky. They trip into a victory by accident. They're playing successful football. Everybody's contributing: offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, receivers, kicker, punter, holder, whoever. They're all helping each other, and they're all bought in on the program to be successful. And that is where you're starting to see this. It's not by accident this team is playing well, because if you're just there and you're getting on just chilling out and you're not totally bought in, you would have rolled over in the third quarter maybe to Washington USC. But with everybody there striving to win and get to a bowl game, they have motivation to play for each other. And that's where it's something scary, but it's something cool to see when you see a program rise from the ashes, and gather and move forward and grow. And this is where, we see coaches we always people call them for firings of head coaches. Sometimes you got to let coaches be there for 3 to 4 years in programs that are definitely a rebuild. We're too much of an instant where, man, they haven't got to a bowl game in 3 years. Screw it, fire them all. Programs like that where they're not the profile, they're off the beaten path, if you will, or they were once great, but they're still trying to recover. You got to give them time. You can't keep rushing in new coaching staffs. I think that's what we're starting to see here at Arizona, where if you let coaches sort of get there for 3 or 4 years, you let them sort of build a culture and grow, eventually you'll start seeing success. We can't keep pushing coaching in organizations unless they've actually committed some serious violations out the door after 2 years if they haven't been to a bowl game, because then it causes issues for turnover on the coaching staff, the program integrity, the culture, the players. It all becomes a mess. You've got to let sometimes sort of things develop on their own, and that's what we're seeing down there right now in Tucson. Um, the Wildcats right now are throwing for 287 a game, and they're rushing for 164. That's a pretty solid balance from an offensive perspective. They're scoring 31, and the defense is giving about 20 points a game. So if you're winning by 11 points on average, that's pretty solid considering you have three single-digit losses. It means in other games they're blowing people out, and they're getting the job done, and they're scoring. Like you mentioned, Delora, he's still up in air if he's going to be playing right now. Thrown for over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 picks. He ran for 131 so far and 3 touchdowns. But I think the more impressive thing is Noah Fafita. The past 3 games, obviously those 2 losses, one to Washington and one to USC, but he's had them in the football game. How can you expect in other situations where you're rebuilding program, you put your backup in, and you're actually being more competitive, and then you come out and you stomp Washington State 44-6? This team, it shows they're playing for each other, and they all have depth, and they're growing. And what he's been able to do, throwing for 946 and 8 touchdowns and 2 picks, is put them in good situations to succeed, but also limit the turnovers. To the 5 interceptions, 2 interceptions. They've lost 2 to above average football teams who have offense, but they've been able to minimize the turnovers, keep their offense in the right situations, and put points on the board on drives. And that's how you are successful, and that's how you end up potentially, put yourself in a situation to actually get an upset. Now we're just waiting for that one point of when do you get that upset? Washington State, they've been a good program. They haven't been as on fire the past couple of weeks as they were early in the year. Do I really call that an upset? It was. They were ranked. That deserves to, they were a high profile team. But now you have a chance to really take that to the next level and beat Oregon State. If you beat Oregon State, then your program has truly gotten there. Like, you're right. We've got back to back top 25 wins. We've done it at home. We've done it, with the lights on us, people watching us. Now we can be taken seriously. Recruits start taking a better look. The players build more confidence, and you start growing from there. Because getting to a bowl game right now is Arizona's goal. You have 4 wins right now. It's not going to be easy to get that 6 wins unless you pull off an upset. You look at it. They got Oregon State this week, UCLA, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona State coming up. That's if you start looking on the outside, that's tough. Like, where are they going to get the 6 wins? You have to beat Colorado and you have to beat Arizona State. And then I think you would feel better about that as the season goes on if you get one of those upsets. So this is a great situation for them to really put all together. Because if you beat Oregon State, can they show up and beat Colorado? There's a good chance. Can they beat Arizona State? Good chance. That puts you at 7 wins. It doesn't put those in dire need, especially that rivalry game at the end of the year where you have to win to get to bowl game where anything can happen. It puts you in a tense spot. So getting the wins now, finding ways to get upsets, builds that energy for the football team. On the other side, Oregon State has been extremely consistent all year. They are who they are. Jonathan Smith and that entire team, defense, run the football. It's amazing how DJU has played so free and in not stressing out this year. He's not in the tense moment under Dabo Swinney where maybe he wasn't flowing with the offense. He was making bad calls. The offensive line wasn't there. Everything sort of falls on him as being the next quarterback at Clemson. And it just all the bottom falls out. He's playing free, stressless, hitting receivers, making right decisions. The offense is buying in around him. They're all gelled together, and they're putting points on the board. They don't have to put up 60 points a game. They can manage it a different way and be successful. That's a coaching thing. That is a team camaraderie thing. It's understanding the goal is just to win the football game. You don't have to win every game 50-0. If you win, you win, and eventually it takes care of itself at the end of the season. And that's where Oregon State's leadership is. I think this is a veteran football team. I think with Arizona beating Washington State and playing Washington and Arizona and USC so close, it has Oregon State's attention. It's not like they're going to appear out of the middle of nowhere and get upset. I think Oregon State's going to come into this football game, play smart. They will survive, just like the past few opponents in USC and Washington have. I think Oregon State wins by 6. They will cover the spread. It won't be a flashy win. I think they're just going to hold on late. Arizona will give them all they want to handle. But Oregon State will just survive. And another sign, I think it'll be a positive for both teams of we're still seeing growth from Arizona, excuse me. But Oregon State is showing a result of a very good football team by being able to go into a hostile environment against an up-and-coming team and just get a W and get out alive. We're a sign that both teams are growing. I think that's what football game we're going to see late on Saturday night.
Yeah, fresh. Everything in Arizona is just a little bit hotter. And I take a look at something that's going on with the Wildcats. This team has been realistically on fire. You want to talk about the losses that they've had. Not a single loss have they looked like they've been overwhelmed. And you take a look at what, losing Jaden DeLora, whatever, because again, we hate the fact that we don't get injury reports like full time here unless it's a season-ending injury. You take a look at Noam for how you say the last name again?
Fafita, I think.
Fafita.
I believe it's Fafita.
So it sounds a lot like fajitas to me. And again, this is what I'm thinking as I'm going. This kid is like when you go to the Mexican restaurant and the waitress brings the fajitas past you and you hear the sizzle off of the pan. You hear that crackling. And that's how this kid's playing. You take a look at what the difference between him and DeLora there. He's completing 6% more of his passes than the other guy. And again, he's played less time, taking a little more hit when it comes to sacks. But I've been impressed with the freshman. And that's the crazy thing. The kid's a freshman and he's playing this way. But, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the dual threat weapon that they have in Jonah Coleman here. Take a look at what Jonah Coleman did this past week against Washington State. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. And then on top of that, oh yeah, we'll throw in a couple of catches and have almost 160 yards of total offense combined. Oregon State, if they're going to win this football game, Oregon State's going to have to know where he is at all times on the field. They have weapons. They have guys that can get on space, make some big plays along the way here. I really think Arizona is going to give people some fits. I'm going to tell you this, Fresh. You gave the last 5 games of Oregon or of Washington's schedule. And I'm sorry, not Washington, Arizona. You gave the last 5 games of their schedule there. 3 of their last 5, Arizona plays ranked teams. I will tell you before this year's out, they will pull the upset in one of those 3 ranked games here. All right, this Arizona team is fun to watch. They're going to make for a heck of a bowl game wherever they wind up at. Oregon State's going to win this football game, and I think they're going to win and cover the 3.5-point spread. I'm also going to take the over in this game. The over set at 56.5. I think that this is going to be a lot of points late at night. I think that Arizona and Oregon are going to be 2 heavyweights going in there. If you can stay awake till 1 in the morning, I think it'll be well worth your time in this game. Damian Martinez is doing everything we thought he could do and more, but then he's also getting some spell help with Deshaun Fenwick. This team is just something special that's happening in Corvallis. They're just a different team. This is not your Oregon State who wins less than double-digit games in a person's college career. It's so weird because this Oregon State team has no home next year. And I think that's motivating them. I think that defense is a bend, don't break defense. I think they swarm the football. I think that they give you a little bit in between the 20s and kind of bend, but then when they get into the red zone, they lock it down. You take a look at what they've done on the defensive side of the football. And again, I talked a little bit in the previous game about the defensive secondary. These guys are getting their hands on the football. They have, so far this season, 36 passes they've gotten their hands on the football, either whether batting the ball down or getting an interception. They're not going to give you anything easy on through the air. You're going to have to soften up this defense and really take advantage of what they're going to give you. I love this game here, Fresh. I really do. I'm excited to see this one. I'm really thinking that this could be maybe a respect game. People are going to look at this, though. If Oregon State wins this football game, they're going to look at Arizona and go, oh, you beat a 4-4 Arizona team. Right. Anyone other than you say that they had Arizona State or Arizona at 4-4 on their bingo card? Because I'll be the first one to tell you I didn't. That's a good football team in Tucson. Even if you lose this football game, you should hold your heads up high. I like the Wildcats a lot. I think they're doing some great things out there. I'm excited to see how they finish off this year. But like I said, give me Oregon State in this game, and I'll take the points as well.
And one person to watch there for Arizona, if they're involved in this football game, Jacob Cowing, wide receiver. He started off at UTEP, past couple of years here at Arizona, 55 receptions, 425, but he's 8 touchdowns. So in the red zone, keep an eye out for him. He could be a big difference maker come Saturday night. And just an aside with Oregon State, at some point, don't you just want to see like Ocho Cinco and TJ Hushmanzada, Steven Jackson just sort of show up on the sideline one day in Corvallis, get back home and show that they're there supporting? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected by YouTube, but I think Jonathan Smith was the quarterback the year that Chad Johnson and TJ Hushmanzada in the Fiesta Bowl. So bringing them all back there on the sideline, hanging out, I think that'd be really cool if this team continues to going where we think they're going to go.
Absolutely. I just really think that we need, if Oregon State wins this football game, and they got a lot in front of them still, man, that's a heck of a resume they're starting to build there. It's a heck of a resume.
In a pretty good league that's going to keep adding on to it.
I know.